Hi. Um, Yesterday in class, somebody wanted to talk about a distance rate time word problem, but we didn't have enough time, so we didn't get to it. So I found one, and I wanted to make you guys a little video. So in this one, we have two trains that leave the station at the same time, one heading west and the other east. The westbound train travels 18 miles per hour slower than the eastbound train. If the two trains are 510 miles apart after 3 hours, what is the rate of the westbound train? And it says do not do any rounding. So the first thing you're going to do is write down what your variable represents. Now be careful here. First of all, you look for what are you asked to find, and it says here we're asked for the rate of the westbound train. So you have to write that down, and write it down, be very specific. In other words, don't write down westbound train equals X, because the variable X has to represent an actual number, not an object. And this westbound train has two numbers associated with it, right? It's got the distance that it's traveled, which we don't know, it's an unknown, and it's got the rate, the speed, which is another unknown. So if you just wrote down X equals westbound train, you would not receive credit for that, okay? So please be careful. So we're going to write down rate of westbound train equals X. Okay, not just westbound train. We're looking for the rate, not the distance, but the rate. So we have to say that. Okay, so now there's another train in the problem, and it also has a rate and a distance. So we need to write down something for one of those. Since we've already written down the rate of the westbound train, let's write down the rate of the eastbound train. So in this problem, the westbound train is 18 miles per hour slower than the eastbound. So that means the eastbound train is faster. So it has a higher speed, a higher rate. So we're going to write the rate of the eastbound train is X plus 18 because it's bigger than X. All right, so we've got the two rates. Now we're going to try to set up an equation. So it's always best to try to draw a picture if you can. So they start at a station. So there's my station. It's a little dot. One of them is traveling west. So west is usually to the left. And the other one's going east. So I've got two arrows. A westbound train and an eastbound train. So now, how am I going to label these? The distance that they travel is, I can think of that as the length of the arrow is how far they've gone. The length of each arrow is the distances. And so the eastbound train is the red arrow. That's the distance. And the westbound train is the green arrow. That's the distance, is the length of that arrow. So how are we going to figure out what to write down for the distances? The distances are not the same as their rates. So we're going to use the formula distance equals rate times time. So for the westbound train, the rate we said was X. And the time in this problem is 3 hours. So the time is 3 hours. And the other train, the eastbound train, the distance is the rate is X plus 18, and the time is 3 hours. So rate times time. So now what are we going to do with these two expressions? Well, it says in the problem that the two trains are 510 miles apart after 3 hours. So that means that if we add those two distances together, we have to get 510. So that's going to give us our equation. So we can now write down 3 times x plus 18 plus 3 times x is equal to 510. And now I'm going to distribute the 3. I get 3x plus 54 plus 3x equals 510. Combine like terms. Now subtract 54 from both sides, and I get 6x is 456. And now if I divide by 6, I get x equals 76. Now I'm not quite done. I'm not going to circle that. I have to answer the question. So I'm going to write my answer with units. The units, remember, are miles per hour because we're talking about the rate of the train. So it's not miles, it's not hours, it's miles per hour. Okay, so hopefully you'll practice a couple of these on Alex. Look at the worksheets. We may have 1 or 2 like this on the worksheet. Practice, practice, practice until you can do these without looking at notes or videos. Okay, have a good weekend. Let me know if you have questions. I will read my email this weekend. I'll see you all on Monday.